Hello, everybody. Welcome to Washington, D.C. Beyond the Map here on the Urbane YouTube network. I'm Trevor alongside Kevin, and we're taking a look at our nation's capital today, Washington, D.C. Kevin, what an interesting map we have. It's kind of square or diamond with a few of the metro lines. How did we go about designing this map? Because as a tourist, I usually think of D.C. just from like the National Mall and all of the monuments, but it looks different than I'm used to.
Yeah, so in the wake of the shutdown, we definitely decided, okay, let's focus on D.C. beyond the politics, beyond the lobbyists, even though, of course, on our map they are concentrated around Capitol Hill and the National Mall. But this was definitely one of our most popular maps to date, and so we'd definitely like to talk with you about how we made this and what were sort of the constructs behind it. And initially, of course, as you mentioned with the shape, well, D.C. was supposed to be a perfect square, but then Virginia with some issues related to slavery. Yes, slavery back in the day. D.C. lost that chunk, and it was part of a compromise between that state and the District of Columbia. But in terms of some of the other things we have, oftentimes folks tell us, well, I like to think things in terms of the metro stops, WMATA, WMATA, as people call it down there. And then, of course, the gray streets represent some of the major avenues that Lane Font, the original city planner, had implemented throughout the city. And these include Connecticut Avenue, Massachusetts.
Diagonal streets,
right, stuff that's named
to a grid.
After states. Yeah, and then the occasional grid ones, I would say U Street is one of those, where...
Letters.
That's right. And the National Mall, of course, is that nice little rectangle that we all love to hate with all
National
the
backyard.
tourists.
Or
That's
front
right.
yard. I don't know which they call it.
Inspired by Versailles, by the way, in France, which is an interesting little
Absolutely.
piece of history.
And speaking of U Street, and everyone always thinks of the monuments, the mall as sort of, that is D.C., but let's talk about some of those more unique neighborhoods, the residential neighborhoods, the cultural neighborhoods, the likes of Adams Morgan or U Street, Logan Circle. What did we discover about those on the map and what the map reveals to the audience?
Right, so just a little review on how we usually do this. We give a neighborhood name to someone in an interview, and then they tell us whatever first comes to mind when we tell them this. And I think for Adams Morgan, we got a lot of responses about Jumbo Slice, which is the pizza place, the fratty pizza place. Right after you play some beer pong, you go and have your late night food. Trevor, you think of falafel,
I think of Amsterdam falafel and all the toppings.
But I think they're all in that collective general sense of nightlife-friendly food. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, on the U Street corridor, you have that very unique microcosm of Ethiopian food. You have the big gay club town there, the big two-story place. You should definitely go if you've never been. And also, of course, Ben's Chili Bowl with all the fabulous pictures of Obama and the delegates who have been there, and including us. We've done it before.
I've been there. Can't say I'm the biggest fan of the chili, but a legend it is.
That's right, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I was going to mention Southeast, of course, a lot of discussion about that. We decided to even avoid it entirely since it is a very controversial area, and of course people have some very unfair perceptions about what Southeast is, so we called it the zone of perceived danger. And definitely our fans have been discussing a lot about what it means to be in Southeast. And
that would be along the Anacostia.
That's right. So D.C. is divided into 4 major quadrants: northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast, which is less kind of a designator of where you live, right? You don't say, well, I live in northeast, but it
not like
still
Portland,
has...
Oregon.
Right. But it still has an impact on D.C. as people see it, so we decided to put those as well in orange on this Urbane map. But yeah, other than that, sort of the northern area is much more residential and much more family-friendly, so quotes relate to that, like station wagons, right? And
so there's a lot more to D.C. than just the White House.
That's right.
This is just inside the nation's capital, and then you have the whole
outside
Beltway outside as well, Bethesda, Alexandria.
Tyson's Corner, my gosh, the list goes on.
We'll get there another day, though.
Yes.
All right. Well, there's Washington, D.C. for you from the Urbane's map. Thanks for watching. For Kevin, I'm Trevor. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much.